Hello, my name is Maya Alexander, and today I will be telling you why mental health should count in attendance policies. So imagine that you wake up overwhelmed with panic, unable to breathe, unable to think, and even unable to get out of bed. But knowing that if you don't make it to class, your absence will not be excused because what you're feeling is not considered a real problem. Like, imagine being told to push through it again and again just because your pain doesn't come with a thermometer reading or a doctor's note. Well, over 60% of college students report dealing with mental illness conditions like anxiety and depression. With that's more than half the students in this class. Odds are you or somebody that you know has been in the same exact situation, myself included. As a student, I felt the weight of that choice: protect my mental health or protect my grade. And after researching this issue through credible sources, student surveys, and school policy examples, one thing has become crystal clear to me. Our current system is long overdue for an upgrade. Colleges must treat anxiety and depression with the same importance as physical illnesses in their school attendance policies. Today, I'll explain the outdated and unfair attendance rules. I'll break down the effects they have on students like us. And finally, I'll show how schools can and are fixing it with real solutions. And more importantly, I'll share how we can help to make those changes happen. Because if we want a campus that supports both health and success, that change starts with us, students, professors, and administrators working together. So, what's causing it? Let's be honest. Most college attendance policies still treat mental health like an afterthought, if they mention it at all. In many schools across the U.S., the only officially excused absences are for physical illness, family emergencies, or religious holidays. But mental health, that's literally in a gray area. A 2023 policy analysis reported by the National Alliance on Mental Illness found that just 3% of experiential education policies explicitly include mental illness as a valid excuse. That means 97% of the time students are struggling with anxiety or depression have no idea if they'll be penalized for taking care of themselves. The policy silence puts students in a tough spot. Instead of staying home and recovering, they come to class mentally and emotionally unstable. And if they do stay home, they often feel forced to lie, claiming that they're sick instead of admitting that they've had a panic attack, for example. In the 2024 Inside Higher Education survey, 1 in 5 students said that they'd benefit from professors explicitly allowing mental health days, but most syllabi don't mention it at all. It's no surprise that students are hiding their struggles. They're being sent the message that if you can't see the illness, then it doesn't count. And that leads us to the effect. What does this actually do to the students? First, let's be clear. Mental health struggles are definitely not rare. They're a massive part of the college experience today. According to a 2025 report, from the American Council on Education, 77% of college students said that their mental health negatively affected their academic performance at least once a month. That's literally 8 out of 10 students. Depression and anxiety affects concentration, memory, and motivation, all of which we need just to show up, let alone succeed. The journal BMC Psychiatry published a study showing that students with depression are more likely to miss class, perform poorly, and even drop out entirely compared to students with physical health conditions. And here's the worst part: the more you fall behind academically, the more anxious or depressed you become. It's literally a vicious cycle. And we're talking about students who feel like they're failing, not because they're lazy or careless, but because the system refuses to recognize their reality. But here's the good news: this can change, and some schools are already leading the way. The University of Maryland, for example, has updated its attendance policies to explicitly list mental health conditions as valid excuses. This means that students with panic attacks, depressive episodes, or high anxiety no longer have to choose between lying and being punished. Villanova University now offers students 2 personal days per semester, no questions asked. Students can use these days for anything related to their wellness, mental or physical. Just this year, the University of South Carolina launched a pilot program allowing students to self-report absences without needing a doctor's note, because let's be honest, scheduling a therapist appointment, just get a slip of paper, that's not a solution, that's just a barrier. And the thing is, these changes are actually working. So the BMC psychiatry study that I mentioned earlier also found that when students' mental health conditions are acknowledged and treated, they close the gap between their peers. And those fears that students will abuse this policy, it isn't happening. So schools report that students value the flexibility and use it responsibly. Taking care of your mind isn't cheating the system. It's literally just being human. So what can we do about it? Well, first, you talk to your professors. You ask them if they would consider a line in their syllabus that states mental health is a valid excuse for absence, just like any other illness. Secondly, if you're involved in student government, academic affairs, or even a class committee, bring up the idea of official wellness days or mental health friendly attendance policies. Schools listen when students organize. And finally, start by being honest. Speak out when you're struggling and listen when someone else struggles too. The more we normalize these conversations, the more pressure we take off each other. So, in closing, colleges simply must recognize anxiety and depression as legitimate health issues. Missing class for a panic attack should be treated with the same care as missing class for strep throat, because both are valid and they both deserve compassion. I brought the outdated policies causing these issues to your attention. We looked at the real damage it's doing to students academically, emotionally, and socially, and we've seen that better solutions are not just possible, but they're already in motion. So I'll finish with this. If we wouldn't force a student with a 103-degree fever to sit through a test, why would we force a student fighting with a mental health crisis to sit through class pretending they're okay? Mental health is health, and it deserves to be reflected in our school policies. Thank you.